Hi, welcome to the video. So this is going to be 2 parts all in one video. So there's part 2 right here, which you have access to in the description below, and then part 3 as well. So yeah, anytime you see where it's underlined, that's a link, and where you see the cursor turn to a hand after opening it up, it's signed as a link. Okay, so yeah, these are interactive PDFs that I created. So the source of Mike Sullivans' article, part 1 and 2. So part 1 is pages 1 to 45, and part 2 is pages 46 to 89. So when you click on it, it'll just open it up. So this is page 1, and so on and so forth. So I have his articles here. So he has his research when he thinks the 70 weeks started, and he wrote this in 2015. 5 years later, my guess is this is a response to his article and the Jewish people who claim to be Jews. So this here, 2020, 5 years later, and if you put copies of clipboard and paste it into your web browser, or bring in a YouTube video of this. So this is the source for when the 70 weeks started in 458 BC Julian, which is 457 BC Gregorian, all right? And Mike takes the position that it started around 420 BC. I have drawing software I pieced together. The only way it can possibly work, based on what he's saying, if you start 421 BC, not 422 or 423 or 420 or 424. It has to be 421 in order it to work with 44 BC, what Josephus wrote, and it has to be 49-year cycles as well, not 50. And they use 49-year cycles, not 50, because, well, I explained it in my video. You should go to this here, the part 3 PDF about Jubilee year cycles video. All right, I go over that in there. So you click on that. So, but I think, and then I strongly recommend to make covenant firm video, because the key purpose to the 70th week within itself is to make that covenant firm. If nobody enters in that covenant, then it just withers away. And so people had to enter in that covenant. So you have to take that 70th week. It has to be when the Jews were entering the covenant. Remember, the gospel went to the Jew first, and then the Gentiles. So I go over that in this video here. That's a huge problem with Mike's timeline. It does not work at all. Nobody entered into the covenant during his 70th week. Nobody was entering into it. They had already entered it a year prior. All right. So anyway, so you can just go over the material on your own. And again, anything that's underlined, it's a link. And I strongly recommend you compare his notes when he thinks began to what I have here, when somebody else done their homework on this and pieced it together, did a phenomenal job. And so yeah, so I see his timeline as highly problematic. I became a full preterist just over a year ago, and I was stunned to see what I was seeing. Like there people are actually putting a gap right in the middle of the 70th week. I was not expecting that at all. Anytime God gives a number, there's never a gap. And now, thankfully, Mike Sullivan doesn't do that, but it's just as problematic, him shifting it over 36 years. Now, why are people putting a gap, and people like Mike Sullivan and others are moving that, at least the second half in the 70th week, to that last, between 8066 to 8070? It's because they believe that Daniel 9, 24, where it mentions the seal up vision and prophecy, they think that that's supposed to happen inside the 70th week. But if you read the text carefully, that's not the case. It is not required at all. All right, so see here if I have, here we go. So this here is a chart or timeline, and so yeah, so bullet number 2, which is this one right here, bullet number 2, just this row right here, seal vision and prophecy. Okay, I have it in 8066. Does that mean, according to this text, seal vision prophecy, is it telling you that 70th week that this vision of prophecy has to happen inside that 7th week. That is not what the text says. All right? That is the crux here. Is it telling you that's about to happen inside the 7th week or not? So the position I take, it started in 457 BC Gregorian calendar and ended in 8033, the 70 weeks, and resulted in all the things mentioned in 924, and Daniel 925, Daniel 926, Daniel 927. So it has to be equal to or greater than the years the 70th week occurred. Okay, so it has to either happen inside the 70th week or after, but it cannot happen before the 70th week. Alrighty. So anyway, I'm going to fight this tooth and nail until the day I die. I am saddened to see the full predator camp become what it had become. I had talked to a gentleman who'd been a full predator for 40 years, and he shared this with me, and I'm like, yeah, I see what you're saying. It's just, he is saddened what had become. It just turned into massive confusion, and this is one of them. And I don't mean this in disrespect to myself. And I believe he has good intentions. He's a sharp guy, but he is dead wrong on this. I mean, on his timeline. And if he just reconsidered, I hope someday that he reconsidered and that he humbles himself and says, yeah, I made a mistake. And so, and I hope it'll kind of. But once it's out there, it's out there. It will never go away. So even if Mike Sullivan admits that, yeah, this was wrong, it's always going to be out there, and it's going to lead others into confusion, the timelines. So it's just something we're all going to have to deal with. But, yeah, this is not an easy topic, but I keep trying to stress this to the scholars out there, hey, get some drawing software and put together a timeline, very carefully put together, and that just hasn't happened, unfortunately. So, anyway, yeah, so again, my position is 70th week happened here, but resulted in all these things after. It resulted in all Daniel 924, and Daniel 925, and Daniel 926, and Daniel 927. It was all fulfilled by AD 73. So basically, the 70th week from AD 26 to AD 33, you add 40 years to that, you get AD 66 to AD 73. Christ's judgment coming was 7 years long, from AD 66 to AD 73, which matches the length of time that Josephus believed the Roman Jewish war lasted, from AD 66 to AD 73. Coincidence? No. So, yeah. So anyway, I am really big on accurate timelines, and so I'm always going to be trying to fight for the truth timeline. And like I said, I was stunned to see some of these things in the full predator camp. Like, where the heck did this come from? And turned out, in the case of Mike Sullivan, he gained this from people who claim to be Jews. He admits they're not, but he leaned on them for kind of a Jewish interpretation, Jewish mindset, if you will, and because they hold dearly to that belief system. And so, and nothing wrong with that, but you still, again, I think the problem is with Mike Sullivan and others, they have taken the sealed vision prophecy portion of Daniel 924, and they walk away thinking, oh, it has to happen inside that 70th week. Again, that is not required of text. That's not what the text is telling you. It's so due to the murder that took place in the middle of the 70th week, it resulted in judgment. So right away, separation sheep versus goats would take place, wheat versus tares would take place, and it was consummated 40 years later. All right, which required the sealed vision of prophecy. Why? Because the house of Israel was left desolate. Just like Jesus said, Matthew chapter 23, verse 38, you're going to be left desolate, not a fraction of the house, but the whole house. And as of AD 73, they were, September 22nd, AD 73 was their last day. The day after, they were gone. All right, per 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. So, that was it. So that's why you have sealed vision prophecy. There's no more needed for the house of Israel. They're gone. All right, and they will never come back. They've been reigning ever since, per Revelation chapter 21. All right. So anyway, so I encourage you to go through all this material, and I guarantee you will have a more informative view, more of a 360 perspective on this topic, and so you can form your own conclusion and decide for yourself. All right, well, thank you very much, and you have an awesome day.